Long ago, in a living room very much like yours, two women made up a podcast on how movies link up to each other, and they called it 6 Degrees of Feature Film.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 6 Degrees of Feature Film podcast. I am Brienne, also known as Miss Movies.
I am Stacey Howard.
And today we have a special guest. My name is Razzle, too, which is funny because I want to know about number one.
Well, yeah, hi. That's,
Thanks for coming.
Hi, thanks, everybody. Thanks for listening. My name is Razzle One. No. That's my Twitter, yes. But most people, like when I meet people at a bar or whatever, I just say, my name is Razzle, unless the person, like, introduces, my name is Razzle, then I'll be like, my name is Razzle too. But it's also,
okay.
on Twitter, it's just the number 2. But yes, I have 2 accounts. I think it's...
Is one your evil twin?
No, it's just, I think it's funnier to lead and have the main account be the second one. Because, like, MTV's got MTV1 and MTV2.
Right.
So I'm like, I want my MTV, I want to be like that. So I'm like, I'll have 2 accounts, and I'll use my second account just because it's, like, it's dumb.
Because you can.
Funny.
It's
Yeah,
ironic.
You can. Why not?
Or, I don't know the definition of ironic, so never mind.
It's like you might lead with your second one and just have your first one for when people say, oh, because Razzle's absurd enough. Like, I'm 33 telling people to call me Razzle. You know what I mean? I have no qualms. Like, you can find out my real name if you choose to. But some adults,
which we won't reveal here.
Some adults in Los Angeles, like, legitimately, like, and like when I first moved here, I've been here. Yesterday was my 6 years.
Congratulations.
And like before that, I lived in Chicago, then before that, Orlando, Florida, and for 20 years of my life, I lived in Michigan. I used to be in a punk band, and I changed my name for that. And then I changed my name to Razzle before I moved to Florida. And then when I got to Florida, I went by Razzle. Most people called me that in there. Some people would be like, "What's your real name?" Chicago, a little bit more, but there were some comedians who were like, "Oh, you call yourself Razzle? That's kind of weird." And it's like, "You're an entertainment dude. Settle down, guy." But then I moved to Los Angeles, and nobody gave 0. Like,
yeah.
No
like,
one cares.
Like, you could move to Los Angeles and say, "My name's Mr. Lightning Bolt," and they'd be like, "Oh, very nice
cool.
to meet you, Mr. Lightning Bolt. Welcome to my house." You know? But lately,
So true.
But lately, I've been meeting people out and about, and they're like, "What's your birth name?" And it's like.
What's your given name?
That's not how this works.
Yeah.
Like,
I call myself what I want to call
my name
myself.
is, and I'm with your friend. Like, I met you through your friend, who calls me that. So you shouldn't be concerned. You should. What is your?
I love this origin story.
What is your first degree? You know what I mean? Like if I'm meeting you.
Yes.
And I'm already good friends with your friend. Like, I meet you at a birthday party, and I'm like the +1 or whatever.
Yeah, and they introduce you as Razzle.
Like,
then I'm going to say,
listen,
hey, Razzle, cool.
That's what you're going to call me.
Nice to meet you.
Because that's what, do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And I don't care. Like, it's not like I'm trying to hide my real name.
Sure.
I just don't like it.
Eh,
Do you know what I mean?
I mean,
it's not.
I feel like we all
it.
go through that.
Yeah.
Don't reveal your name. I'm going to guess it throughout the entire podcast. Just trying out new names.
It's
Bernard.
Yeah. Boom.
Oh,
there we
got
go.
it.
That actually goes with one of my movies here. That name, though. I think it is.
I'm thinking the Santa Claus.
No, it could be.
Darn.
It could
Oh,
be.
I love that guy too.
I think so. Maybe.
Old school.
It'll be one. No, you know what? That's actually not.
Oh,
close.
okay. Okay. All right, we're getting there. We're getting there.
There's
Yeah,
lots
we're
of
getting
guessing in this podcast
Yeah.
so far. Guessing names,
It's
guessing
huge.
movies. I'm
Welcome,
excited.
ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Guessing Podcast.
The guessing game.
I hate to commandeer this show, but there's been some controversy over the previous episodes, so we had to pull these, and now this is my show.
All right, so let's tell Razzle how we do this podcast. Would you like
Okay.
to?
Yes,
Go
can you
for it,
explain the rules?
Stacey.
Because you sent me all the information, and I
Yes.
see the title, and I'm like, oh, I know how to play 6 Degree games.
Yeah.
Then I'm looking at
But
some
this
of
is
these, and I'm
different.
like,
We make
this
up our
is-
own rules.
And you
Holy
didn't,
cow.
yeah. I don't know if you follow the
Talk
rules
about
either.
girls playing games.
Yeah.
Changing the rules of things.
That's what we do.
So I sent
Yeah.
you a big long email explaining everything. Thanks
Yes.
for reading that. I guess I'll go
Yes,
in.
I didn't read it. I just looked at the flow chart of this. I'm lost.
Oh gosh, what a typical guy. Okay, so 6 Degrees of Feature Film. We start off with the film that we love as the feature film.
Yes.
From there, we show how 6 movies connect to it. So off of our feature film today, we're going to stem off with 2 movies, and from each of those movies, stem off of 2 more movies, a total of 7 films. And they're all films that we love. They connect in some way, and they're all pretty much bananas. That's
Yeah.
my word that I love
Bananas.
to use. It's bananas.
It's It's a good
I
movie.
love it. I'm excited. Let's get into it.
All right.
Yes.
Feature film for today is Face Off.
Face
or
Off.
Face/Off.
Face/off.
Which the slash has to be in there because
It
we
has
don't
to.
want to confuse it with hockey.
That's
and
right.
that's totally
You know,
why
that's
John
exactly
Woo
it.
did
Can't be a
that.
hockey
Yeah.
game.
Which is ridiculous.
That slash is so doesn't make it. I think it's just because on the poster art, it's like. Even that,
The two
Oh yeah, the
faces.
two faces.
And so that slash really is like.
It's
a weird
needed,
thing.
isn't it? I mean, really.
And it
Come
wouldn't
on.
let me. Can I just say?
Yeah.
It annoyed me when I was trying to save this Word document for my notes, and it wouldn't let me do the slash. And I was like, "What is it? Oh, the slash needs to be in there. Do you not recognize this word? Come on."
When I go home, I'm gonna buy the domain. I'm gonna add that as like a sub page to my website.
Okay.
And it's gonna be face/off.
Perfect.
So, this is about, the synopsis is, to foil an extortion plot, an FBI agent undergoes a face transplant surgery and assumes the identity of a ruthless terrorist. But the plan backfires when the same criminal impersonates the cop with the same method. Dun,
Classic,
dun, dun.
right there. Dun, dun,
Totally
dun.
classic.
Absolutely Oscar-worthy performances in this film.
Oh,
We have-
that's good.
John Travolta.
Oh, God.
John Travolta's performance is probably my favorite. But anyways,
Oh,
John
it's so
Travolta,
good.
Sean Archer, and Castor Troy. Nick Cage as Castor Troy and Sean Archer. We also have Joan Allen as John Travolta's wife. Dominique Swain. Where have you been, Dominique? What's going on in your
I
life?
don't know. It's also got the love of my life, Gina Gershon.
Yes.
Who is just the most beautiful woman in Hollywood, in my opinion. She's also in another great movie I love, Showgirls.
Yes.
They're out. That was one of my first movie boobs I ever saw, was Showgirls, and there's lots of that in there.
We should do that sometime.
We're totally gonna do Showgirls. And she's great in that. She's great in this. She's great in P.S. I Love You. She's great in anything she does.
I'm glad you know
She's
her.
Gina Gershon.
Her whole
Oh,
collection.
I know her whole filmography. I do. I have a little girl crush on her. I'm not gonna lie.
I understand.
Ghost Rider? She was in Ghost Rider, wasn't she?
With Nick Cage as well.
Cage as well. I
Was
don't
she?
know, maybe,
I don't remember that.
One of
I
those,
thought that was
they-
Eva Mendes.
They all look this. No.
Stop.
Whoa there. Whoa there.
This is directed by John Woo.
Woo!
And written by some other people that I've never heard of before, but Mike Werb and Michael Colleary. Have you guys heard of them before this?
I have not.
All right, so just making sure that I wasn't the only one. It was nominated for an Oscar, by the way, best sound effects.
Yeah.
So congratulations there. The budget was $80 million, and it grossed $246 million at the box
This
office.
is a big movie.
Yeah, and I just watched it like 2 months ago. And the reason,
serious? For the first time?
what? Yeah, for the first time. The reason I did that is because I had heard them talking about it on How Did This Get Made, and I was like, this just sounds amazing.
So good.
I need to see this. And as I was watching it, my husband said, "You know we own this film, right?" And I said, "No, I just rented it for $3."
It's a staple in every household.
I
Everybody
guess so.
has Face Off. Even if they don't know it, it's just in your DVD clip. You're like, oh my
It
God, I never
appears.
even bought this. How is it there? It's like a YouTube album. It's just there, and you don't even
Just
ask for it.
Spreads.
It just spreads like a virus, and it's wonderful.
I don't even know. Like, okay, let's talk about some favorite parts of this film. Obviously, this entire podcast has spoilers. So if you hear a movie come up, like, be prepared. Like, get on to that, like, 15-second, like, gotta go ahead because
I don't know if
gonna
anybody's going to
happen.
be devastated. That
Maybe.
we
Well, I hope not.
Reveal. There's not even really twists in this movie, but
I don't really
you
know our audience right now.
I don't think they'll cry. If they're like, they
So-
ruined Face Off for me. You know, it's not like The Sixth Sense where now that you know the twist.
Okay, yes.
You know,
We could-
that it's like the whole movie, not ruined, but now that you like know. It's not like that. There are ridiculous things that happen in this movie, and at any
Yes.
point you can.
I
go
think
in
my
and be
favorite
like,
thing
oh.
has got to be the shootout with Somewhere Over the Rainbow. That has got to be my favorite.
So
John Woo paid to have that song in there. The studio refused and was like, "No, I'm not going to do that." So he like paid money out of his own pocket just to have that song in there. And Olivia Newton-John sings. That's her voice.
What?
She recorded
Stop
it for
it.
the movie. Yes.
I didn't even know that.
And
Thank
they
you for that
paid him,
trivia.
They paid him back after because the movie did so well. They were like, "Oh, good for you that you decided to put that amazing bananas scene in there."
I like
So
it.
he's rewarded. Yeah.
it was so good.
Just
I
the
like
whole
that.
thing. When have
That,
you've
well,
seen it
that Somewhere
before?
Over the Rainbow. You can put that over anything, and I'm gonna probably tear up for
Yeah.
some reason.
So you teared up at this shootout?
You know, and then they're carrying that kid, and it's
I
like,
know.
what is
There
going
are
on
high
here?
stakes.
Just shooting this kid.
Okay, can I ask a question that I don't know
And
if
you
I
got
just
those golden guns? And it's like,
golden guns,
dude, come on.
just glinting,
100%.
glinting in the light. Can I ask a question about that scene? Gina Gershon kisses someone. Is that her brother?
Yeah.
That she kisses?
That is a question
So
I had
there's
too.
like this incestuous subplot in this movie. I don't know if I like wasn't paying attention and I didn't notice it, but I was like, "That's her fucking brother, right? Like they're making out. What's going on?"
They didn't drop tongue.
No,
So it's okay.
I saw a little bit of
It
tongue.
was just I
I
seen
for
zero
sure,
tongue.
I for sure
It
saw
was a
some
closed
tongue.
mouth kiss.
I saw a little bit of tongue in there. I got a very Star Warsy vibe.
Rewatch the movie.
No,
Frame
I got
by
some
frame.
Star Wars vibes. Okay, it's the brother and sister are making out and it's inappropriate, and I don't like it. It's sinful. It's sinful.
So whose son is that? Oh wait, the son is Castor Troy.
son is
That's
Castor
right.
Troy.
Spoiler
That's
alert.
right.
Whoa,
Once again.
What?
I mean, we need to be
And
prepared.
He just happens to have the same haircut as the dead son from the beginning. Like, come on.
And he was a ghost.
He's
the whole time.
reused.
Yeah, like they just reused the kid.
Okay, that
Come on,
whole
man.
thing about like now
Kid
this
didn't age
kid
at all. Kid's
doesn't
got bent
have.
button disease.
Let's just skip to the end for a second when they like take in the boy. It's like, wait, what?
Yeah, like out of nowhere.
I'm sorry.
You did not discuss this.
Yeah, we went
needs
through
a place
this
to
huge
stay.
trauma.
But
Wait a
Let's
second.
adopt a kid.
what about this too? Is like the dude went through. He clearly like what was their recovery time?
Oh,
from the
Yeah,
surgery?
it was like 2 hours.
And the wife like isn't like look if your husband just saves the day and like gets shot and almost dies, and he's gonna go through another face-off procedure. You're gonna hang out at the hospital waiting for him to recover, and you're gonna drive him home.
Right.
Yeah.
You're gonna probably
So
drive
you
your husband
know.
home. You're not
Who
gonna
is
just
this drive
sit
home?
on your computer. They didn't have Uber in 98.
Oh, you're back.
You know what I mean? Like, who's dropping? Is it the cops? Is it his best friend that got killed?
Oh my
no.
gosh.
Josh Woods got no more friends at that police station. And how did he get from the hospital? It was like a secure
And
facility.
who
too.
gave
Like,
the boy? The boy should have been in like what's it?
police custody.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Or
social services.
yeah, social services. He would have been. He's not. They're not going to adopt him away to the cop that clearly might
Yeah.
have a grudge against him.
Yeah.
This
Right.
movie is bullshit. I love it though. I love it. My favorite scene.
Wait, yeah.
My favorite scene is, of course, the opening scene where you're introduced to Nicolas Cage's character, dressed as a
Oh
priest,
yes.
singing
And-
Hallelujah. With
And then-
a choir that is, in fact, a real choir. It's a non-profit choir for charity in Los Angeles. Played the choir.
And,
Except for, I don't know
like,
the
molesting that girl. What
molesting
is the
some
deal?
girl, but no, it's
She
not
was
molesting,
totally,
she's
like,
into it.
cool.
No, she's paying for it. She loved it. She was like, hey. She dropped her little binder on purpose, little slut. And then he came up and was like, hey. And she was like, hey. They had a moment together.
But why?
Because reasons. Because plot.
Because reasons.
Because face
You
flashed off.
prefer that Nicolas Cage, that Castor Troy, to the Castor Troy 6 years prior where he had a mustache as a sniper? Like, come on.
No, I like.
That was the best. That
I
was
like
like
this-
I'm like, where's his mustache the whole movie? Like, if you're
don't
gonna
know.
do a face-off, include a mustache in the face-off.
No, this is. I like this Castor Troy because whenever he pretends to climax behind that girl, and they zoom in right to his eyes, and then they open them so wide, and it's so just magical, and
Yeah.
it's so Castor Troy.
I personally like John Travolta playing Castor Troy. I just find that hilarious
He's
because he does it pretty
brilliant
good.
in this movie.
The
He's
makeup
so good.
department did such a good job making them
no,
look
they
like each
did.
other.
Okay,
Like,
here's the
it
thing.
blows my
Great.
mind.
I get the whole idea of the face switching, but the bodies would be completely different, obviously.
This
I mean,
one's a
I'm
little
I'm
pudgy.
creating
They, like,
logic
augmented
to
too,
this.
because they took his scar off and everything, and they like augmented their bodies. Didn't they say
No.
that? Like,
Didn't
there-
they
there
add
was a
abs?
Scene, yeah, I think
6
they
minute
did.
abs?
There was like a
They
scene
did 6 minute abs.
So it was body off, really.
Body.
because they had a whole yeah, and they'd be different heights. And they
Right.
trim the hairline down, like
At this point, they could have been able to switch their blood type, which is what the giveaway was, right? I
One
mean,
of
if
them.
we're gonna be doing all of this other stuff, let's just go full.
or just be like, hey, has your husband been acting weird? It's because
Yeah.
it's not me, lady.
Yeah.
Oh
I
my
just
We
told
switched
you.
his face.
I told you our first date, and you still don't believe me. Look, here, sign these papers. I want a divorce.
And what is with them touching the faces? Like,
Oh,
why?
don't even get me
God.
started on
The
that.
face
Don't even
waterfall.
get-
They call it
oh,
face
God,
waterfall
don't even get
on
me.
Like, who does
How Did
that?
This Get Made?
Does anybody do that really?
Well,
In
John
real life?
Travolta does it in real life. He touches Idina Menzel's face at the Oscars.
That was
really
weird.
creepily.
Like
That was
face
weird.
off? Did he do that?
No, but he did this, and he kept grabbing, and I swear to God, he almost did the face waterfall.
He should have.
He
That
should've.
would have been a great
that would've
callback.
been amazing.
That
I
is
would have
awesome.
forgiven him for every weird thing that he's done. Hand tug jobs at masseuse parlor. I wouldn't have cared. I've been like, he did the face waterfall at the Oscars. Yes, I would have been so into it. This movie is so stupid. I love it though. I keep saying I love it.
That's so good.
Okay.
I love it.
Do you guys know that there was multiple pairs of actors that were supposed
Yes.
to be?
My
or
favorite
were
was
thought
Arnold
about?
Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone, which we'll bring up later.
We'll bring that up. Don't you worry. Don't
Yes.
you worry.
Our podcast has something with Rocky. Like, it has
Sorry.
become a little bit strange.
Yeah.
It's I do okay. We'll
We'll-
get into it.
we can do it
We'll
later.
save that. It'll be a
You'll
little
see.
piece of
You
candy
like
treat
Rocky?
at the end.
My brother and I,
Yeah.
I was on a family vacation in March in Florida, Fort Myers Beach, and the plane's landing, and I forget who picked me up or whatever to drive to the beach, and I'm just sitting there, and I had the idea. I'm like, I'm gonna scour this beach, looking for outfits that look like Rocky 3 training on the beach
Okay.
with Apollo Creed,
Mm-hmm. And?
and I found them.
Oh, sweet.
I bought 'em. It's like $100.
Mm-hmm.
Worth it. Worth every
it,
penny.
completely. And I had my brother and I reenact it on the beach. It was the funniest, dumbest thing I've ever done.
But
But my brother
and the
did it 'cause I told
greatest.
him to do it.
That sounds
Yeah,
amazing.
it was worth. I mean, for a 2-minute video, I dropped $120.
Nice.
It was so stupid,
Every penny.
but I love it. Anyways,
You know
that's
what?
it.
We
I
all
love
do
Rocky
things like
movies.
that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I rented a wetsuit to review Point Break on YouTube.
Oh, that's a good movie.
So
It's a good
I was
movie,
like,
too.
I don't really need to spend this money, but I did.
Yeah.
That's just life.
Talk about Point Break someday.
I know. Point Break.
Okay.
All these on the list. Let me go
Another
through.
pair.
Showgirls.
Harrison Ford and Michael Douglas. That would have been incredible.
What?
And then
That would have
Michael-
been way too serious.
Well, no, I don't know, because Michael Douglas, he can get a little
Crazy.
sometimes, and he can character act. He can like really slip into a character.
I
you
have
seen Behind the
no
Candelabra?
problem with his
Scott.
with his acting chops. I'm just saying, it seems a little wacky.
I like that though. I like wacky. It's face/off. It's supposed to be a little wacky.
Of
Because Michael
course.
Douglas liked the script. He's a producer on this film.
He
So
was.
he's still involved,
Yeah.
even though he didn't take the part. Also, it was going to be Bruce Willis and Alec Baldwin.
Yes, please.
Or, okay, this is my favorite. Jean-Claude Van Damme and Steven Seagal.
Whoa.
Lawman.
Yes.
Steven Seagal.
That's totally, this is their film.
Karate.
They could totally
Steven
do this.
Seagal.
John Woo was like, you know what? I need to branch off out of this
Yeah.
genre, right? Mm-hmm. But
And
I
then
could
he
see them
eventually
together.
went on to Mission Impossible 2, but still with doves.
Doves
Doves
have
are
to
always
appear.
there. And
At
also,
every moment.
Pacino and De Niro were considered as well.
Oh, that would have been good.
That would have been great. Them doing
These are all
impressions of
amazing.
each other. Oh God! But if it was De Niro, I would want him to do like the Devil's Advocate Pacino.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where he's just like yelling random things and doing these like weird monologues. I would want him to do like that kind of Pacino.
I want to see this. Saturday Night Live did a thing where it was like people trying out for Star Wars. I want to see this. People trying out for Face Off with all these
yeah.
different people, like
And
on
like
Saturday
all these
Night
famous
Live.
people, but doing impressions of other people. That's
Yes.
the best.
That is the best.
Nicolas Cage, he was saying he has a very distinctive voice and way that he acts, but he didn't really realize this. He was like, I didn't realize that I had like a manner of
A
speaking
type.
that was recognizable until I saw John Travolta doing an impression of me, and I was like, oh, that's what I sound like. It's like looking in a mirror, but not, or whatever Travolta does. He does great. Like he really does a good job
Yeah.
of impersonating Nick Cage. They're both brilliant in this film.
I feel like we could talk about this for another hour.
We could.
However,
We could.
we should probably move on to our next films. Is there anything you'd like to say at the end here, Razzle?
Oh no, I
Wrap us up.
I mean, it's in your notes here too, but they were boom. There we go. They were the boots that they wore.
Oh
Yes,
yeah.
like Super
I'm
Mario
like, they're
Brothers.
the boots that they look just like the jumping boots from Super Mario Brothers movie.
And they were.
They were just reused props.
Absolutely. And apparently the actors had a really hard time walking around in them because they're so heavy. So they would like fall all the time. There's all kinds of like set problems.
We need to have these boots in prisons. Like, I
For
feel like
sure.
this
Can
is
we-
totally.
So this movie came
Let's
out
do
in
it.
98, right?
97.
97.
Same year as Con Air, people.
So good.
You got
Yes.
two amazing Nicolas
Oh,
Cage
man.
performances
Doesn't he
in
call
1
him
year.
Peach in both, or is it Honey Bunny? No, I don't know. But in this one he's like Peach. But everybody's making a big deal about Back to the Future shoes and all of this.
Mm-hmm.
I propose we get some of these jumping boots from the Mario movie.
I
There
think
you
we
go.
should, too.
Somebody get on that because I want to jump. I want to jump higher.
It's funny that you mention that because this movie, it was originally supposed to be set in the future. But then they decided, no, let's make it in the present and we'll make it more about the story and the drama and the character arcs and the family and stuff. But I feel like that this futuristic prison was like left over from that original intention to be set in the future. Because there's no prisons like that anywhere in the
Especially
middle
with
of...
boots like that. Like,
Yeah,
that's
with
the
boots
biggest,
in the
like-
middle of the
There
ocean
should
that are
be.
magnets.
This is how prisons should be. In the middle of the ocean with
Well,
boots.
and that's probably why Stallone and Schwarzenegger were involved at one point, because if it was a future movie, like...
For sure.
Like,
Oh, Demolition Man.
Come on.
Yeah.
It's not, like, with the face in it off, like, that makes so much sense.
Three
to have it be a future
seashells.
movie.
Oh, everything. Everything would have been
It
amazing.
makes so much more sense.
So yeah,
that it
but
was
they
supposed
just
to be.
they didn't even change it to a normal prison. Like, why did they keep this weird, futuristic, amazing prison in the movie? They like
Right.
didn't even think. They're like, nah, just keep it in. It's gonna be fine.
You know what? We've
Totally
shot
makes
this already, so we're gonna have to continue.
sense. Okay.
Boots.
All right.
All right, here's our link to the next two films that we'll be talking about is movies with a ridiculous premise, because I say that Face Off has a ridiculous premise. I'm going to go on record with that. And our first movie that we're going to discuss is Xanadu,
Xanadu.
which you
You
just
have to
watched.
sing it every time.
Now, Razzle, have you seen Xanadu?
I have not.
Okay, it's
I've
all
seen-
right then.
I've seen
It's all right.
clips. I've seen a clip of Xanadu only because and we'll get into that in a bit. But
Okay, yes.
I'm familiar with it.
Excellent.
I mean, I've seen bits and pieces, I should say, but I've never seen it. It's
In
like,
its entirety.
like Big Lebowski. I've never seen it from start to finish.
But
I
you
love-
know the story,
I
and you
the
know,
story.
like...
It puts me to sleep every time I watch it. Like, I get it.
Because you already know, because you've seen the bits.
Because it's a stoner movie, so you know.
People like, yeah.
It's very
I can't
sleepy.
watch that from the beginning. I don't put that movie. Yeah. Same with Fargo. So I've seen this.
Oh no,
Only
don't
bits
say
and
that about
pieces.
Fargo.
Yeah,
Fargo's
yeah.
amazing. Okay, so
So I'm going to have Stacy take the lead, because she just recently saw this.
We're talking about Xanadu. This movie, okay, here's a synopsis list on IMDb, which makes, it doesn't tell you anything about the film, and that's okay, because the film, it's not a real film. There's nothing going on.
Well, what I did on IMDb when I was looking up the synopsis, it says like a sentence, and
It
then
goes-
if you scroll down to like the bottom, you can see like a longer.
It's like a
longer
fan
thing.
put in the real,
Right.
you
And
know,
they're like,
plot.
this is
They're
what
like,
it's really
this
about,
is what
people.
it is. Okay, so IMDb says it's the story of a girl who makes dreams come true. That's it.
Yeah.
What does that tell you about the movie? Nothing. Here's what the movie's about. Olivia Newton-John is a muse. There's 9 daughters of Zeus. They're all muses, and they are, in Greek mythology, they were, sent down to Earth to inspire the arts and sciences and, people of that nature to create wonderful things. So she is sent to Earth to inspire a painter to then open a roller disco club
Yes.
called Xanadu.
With no alcohol.
With no alcohol. It's just skates. And everyone just has skates with them. Like, was this a thing in the 80s? Did people, like...
Oh yeah, you're
just
younger than
carry
me.
around
Let me just
roller
say.
skates?
Do
How
you?
old are you?
She's in her
25.
20s.
Of course.
'Cause-
she doesn't know what
I have no
roller
idea.
skates
What
were.
the fuck
Okay.
is happening in
Roller
this
skates are
movie?
these things that you put on your feet.
Is it like
and they're
inline
super
skating,
fun.
like in the 90s? I mean, they
Okay.
have like the 4 ones.
I don't
like
know
a
if
little car
I
on your
had a
feet.
party at a roller rink growing up, but I know friends did, and I went to those parties. So when you get there, they have like a whole, like when you go ice skating, like you go and you check in and you tell them your shoe size, and they give you your skate size,
Like bowling.
Yes.
like bowling.
Okay. You rent-
Yeah,
you
and
rent
then you
skates
just
if you don't
go
have
around the
skates.
rink,
Okay.
and there's a
And you don't-
DJ.
It's just in a circle?
There's dancing
Yep.
and you couple skate and you
Yep.
dance. It's like a discotheque with roller skating shoes. So you
Mm-hmm.
you float easier. It was huge in the 70s and in the 80s. That's why like a lot
Because
of
this
things.
movie's released in 1980. So it was
Yes.
like right on the cusp, I guess.
Yeah.
So
And prior to that and after, it was like disco dancing. It was a thing, especially when you look at how old they were. Some of these characters were like even in like Grease and in movies before that, like Saturday Night Fever. They're young enough to where they that's their thing. Like, that's the place to go. Some of them take place in big towns. Some of them take place in small towns, some of these movies. And that's why it's, like, that's what the weekend thing to do was. Like, you go roller skating.
That is insane.
It's like a roller skating dance.
I kind of wish that was still a thing.
You can show off your tricks. You can show off how, you know.
Yeah, I know. I think there's one still in Los Angeles somewhere that you can go to.
There's one in Glendale that's really nice. So, I mean, I say really nice in the sense that it's a roller rink.
Yeah, and there's nowhere else to go.
Shot there.
Comparatively,
That's nice.
compared to the other two I've been to in Los Angeles, it's really nice.
So this whole movie revolves around skating, and they sing songs. It's a musical, and the soundtrack to this film was hugely popular. The song Magic, I think, was #1 in the U.S. There's a few other. I recognized the songs. I was like, oh, I know that song. I thought it was just like a song in the 80s, but it's from this soundtrack. So
Right.
I realized that. And it's a Broadway play, or it was, and it won the Tony for Best Musical and like Best Songs and all that stuff. So it's an incredible, I shouldn't say looking film. The CGI, or, you know, special effects, should I say, are ridiculous and bonkers and completely distracts me from the film. But the music and the dancing is incredible. And it's shot like an old-fashioned musical from the 40s.
Right.
Which makes sense because they got Gene Kelly in there.
Poor Gene Kelly.
Poor
This was
Gene
his
Kelly,
final film.
Who is an amazing skater and just glides
I could
through
watch
the
Gene
whole
Kelly
film.
for hours.
Oh, gosh.
I can't believe he's like, well, that's close to my house, so I guess I'll do it.
Yeah.
that's
Literally
that's
down
what
the
it
street
is.
from him.
So old.
Yeah.
But he's like the best skater in this movie. He's
Best
so
dancer
good.
ever. I mean,
He's
like,
incredible.
Yes.
And he choreographed the scene with him and Olivia Newton-John because she originally was a muse for him back in his character back in the 40s with like the big band, you know, scene.
Right, because he plays what, clarinet or something?
He's like a clarinet. He's playing a clarinet on a rock, and then the lead guy, I totally
Sonny?
forgot his name. Sonny. There we go.
Yeah.
Sonny like finds him, and then they're like, "Oh, let's open a roller derby whatever thing together." And
I love
he's
how like this businessman and just some random struggling artists
Some
are like,
painter.
hey, let's just get together.
yeah, he's like, "Oh, you got a good eye. You'll be a great business partner." No, that's not how it works. Business people like own the business. They know how to do the books. They're good at, you know, numbers and finance. The artists are opposite of that. That's like the opposite
Yeah,
of what you do.
what is his talent? What is he
He's
gonna
like
do?
a painter, and why
So
are
does he
they-
paint the place?
I
don't
don't
even
know.
remember.
I have no idea what happened in this movie. It
Oh.
wasn't
Maybe you just went through parties. I'm gonna have to watch this movie
Okay.
It's ridiculous.
My goodness.
It's
because
so
this sounds
good.
amazing, and I
So-
like Gene Kelly, and I like roller disco.
And then there are so many random moments, like he's chasing the girl. He like sees her on an album cover, thinks she's pretty, meets her in real life, and then he's like, I have to find this girl. So he goes in search of her, sees her on like the boardwalk or whatever, and then is like, I need to chase after her. Walks up to these girls and is like, I need to borrow this bike, and they're like, okay. And they smile really creepily. Like, no one even questions it. He doesn't question why she appears out of nowhere. And then he's, like, shocked that she's this mythical creature. And he's like, what are you talking about? You can't be a mutant. And I'm like, she's popped up, like, 5 times. And, like, you don't even
Randomly.
realize it.
And she skated full on
She's
into you.
full on
at some
skated
point.
into it. Like, what is
Oh,
happening
so
in this
she's
film?
not a real person?
No, she's a Greek muse.
She's, like, a mythical creature.
What?
She had to go back to Zeus to be
Hold
like,
on.
wait, can I
Hold
go
on.
down and date this
and
guy
then-
for a
Sorry,
minute?
And then he jumps into a painting and goes to, what's it, Mount Olympus or whatever.
Right.
And he's like almost, and then he talks to Zeus, he talks to Hera or whatever. And then he
It's
gets sent back.
bonkers.
No, there's like magic in this movie, but it makes no sense and no one questions it. No one's like shocked. And he sees a picture of her from the 40s and she looks the same and he's never like, oh my god, this girl, how can she look the same in the 40s? Like oh god. No one questions anything in this movie. And it's so, I love it though.
Okay, I just
Oh
have
god.
This is my new favorite movie.
No,
So-
it's so ridiculous.
It's my new favorite movie.
It's so ridiculous.
my friend Mike Carano had a series on YouTube called 5 Minutes with Mike, and one of his 5 Minutes with Mike is talking about Xanadu and how amazing and incredible it is. And at the end, he like gets on his guitar and just like improvs a song about Xanadu and how how much he loves it. It's one of my favorite things that I've ever witnessed. So check that out, everyone. 5 Minutes with Mike, Xanadu. That's all you have to put in YouTube.
I'm gonna worship that song because
so great.
maybe it'll explain what the hell happened in
There
this film. I
is
have
a
no
review of this movie. It just says a 1-sentence review. It says, in a word, Xanadu.
Xanadont.
And that's my favorite.
Whoa,
was
puns.
like, yep.
Oh, love it.
It's so bad, it's good.
I don't know, but I genuinely don't know what happened. And then she so they open the club, but no one's there. It's just the dancers, but there's no crowd. So I don't know if it's a successful opening. It's
that actual club was $1 million to make.
Yeah.
For the set.
Let's talk about
why.
The budget for this movie was supposed to be $4 million. It ended up being $20 million, and it only made $1 million at the box office. It was a huge bomb.
It only made it made $22.8 million, but when you only have $20 million that you budget, then you're not really making much after that.
That's right. And
it's not considered a success unless it's at least double what you've put into it.
Yeah, but the soundtrack was huge though. So I don't know, did people even like the movie, or did they just like the or it's eventually become a cult classic. But I'm genuinely baffled as to what people thought of back in the day.
I'm sure they hated it. That review says it all, and it don't. I'm sure we should look on Rotten Tomatoes. What is the score on Rotten Tomatoes?
I'm giving this 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. I'm writing a review today. I'm telling everyone to see it because it's the most bonkers thing I've ever seen. And this movie, it could have been an incredible experience. The costumes, the dancing, the soundtrack, everything's amazing. But the dialogue and the acting are atrocious. So you can't sit through it without being what is happening? So
that
if they
guy,
had
Michael Beck, was just terrible.
He's awful.
He's Sonny.
How was he the lead? He didn't even audition. They just picked him. They're oh, this is the guy.
This is why.
He did not even audition.
That's just how the movie goes. Oh, this is the guy. This is the
guy
that's going to open the thing with me.
Well, you look at the director and the writer, and they haven't done a ton. They've done mostly the director's primarily done documentaries. Mm-hmm. And the writers they haven't done anything else, so it's they clearly
they didn't know what they were doing.
Got their shot, and that was it.
They wrote the script in the middle of the movie. They had a 45-page script apparently.
Yeah, and then they filled it with animation because they're we can't get anyone back.
There's a random animated scene. It looks like Thumbelina or whatever.
So it says. So was it a play first, or it was a play after?
It was a musical after. They made it a musical because everyone loves the soundtrack. So in 2007, it went on Broadway. It had 512 performances. So it ran for a while.
That's primarily how I know the thing.
Yeah.
Because I know the soundtrack. I know the song.
That's all I knew about it.
It's a good tune. Yeah.
It is a good tune.
I knew nothing about this film going in. I didn't really look up the plot. All I just knew was my mom said, "Oh my God, you have to watch Xanadu someday." She knew how bananas it was.
So I'm glad I assigned it to you.
And I know the song Xanadu. That's all I knew. And then I started watching it, and I was like, "Wait, is she a roller derby nymph?" I was so confused. I'm still really confused. I have no idea what this movie is, but it's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is amazing.
It's Xanadu.
All right, let's move on. Our next film that has a ridiculous premise, although a good film that has a ridiculous premise is what I would say, is Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, which came out March 19th, 2004. And I just recently watched this the other day because I was all right, I got to refresh, got to remember it again. Although it's one of those times where you're still working on something. You've seen it before, so you have other things that you need to be doing, on in the background, but still kind of paying attention at times. I don't know.
See, for this
but
movie,
that's hard to do.
Yeah, because this movie is one of my favorite movies of all time. I love it so much, and it's not really one of the movies where you can just kind of do other things in the background, because there's all kinds of little
nuances
details to pay attention to, and little snippets during each
vignette.
Yeah.
I'll call it vignettes.
Mm-hmm. During each scene, and it's clues to what's happening, and then I had to watch this movie a few times to fully understand what was going on, but I knew it was happening, but to catch everything.
This was the second time that I watched it, and the reason why I had this thing for a long time that if I liked a film a lot, I only wanted to see it once because I didn't want to ruin that experience for me. Does anyone else do that?
No.
No, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
Okay. Because, I think that started with Braveheart. I really liked Braveheart, and I was I can never see this again, because if I see it again, then I'll start, looking for the problems.
Yeah, it's definitely, my friends and I, we call it the nostalgia factor.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of movies that you think are, even Braveheart, it's a great movie, but there are a lot of movies that you see, and they're amazing, and you don't see them for a while, and you go on touting the, telling tales throughout the lands of how good these films are.
Right.
Then you watch it again and you're like, holy cow, this movie's not any good. or it's not any good. Like, perfect example. Now, you girls might think I'm a nut here, and a lot of people listening will probably I've heard I get death threats and hate mails.
Great.
And, videos pulled from YouTube because of my stating how I don't care for The Princess Bride.
Okay.
I don't think it's that. I didn't see it until I was an adult. After everybody's like,
right,
just like lauding it completely. Everybody's like, oh, it's the best, funny, blah 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 blah. And I didn't see it as a kid.
Right.
And I seen it as an adult, and everybody hyped it up so much. I'm just like, eh.
Right. I think the problem is because you saw it as an adult.
Seen it as an adult.
Just like I just watched Gremlins, and I wasn't into it.
Okay.
Because I'm an adult, and this just doesn't. It doesn't. It is dated completely.
It's very dated, and it's the I mean, that's where the nostalgia factor comes in, is because it's like because of that. Do you know what I mean? Like,
right.
It could everybody thinks it's a great movie, but it's like it's not as great as you thought it was because of the time you see it.
Right. I will still buy like some sort of stuffed animal of Gizmo though, because he's adorable. Absolutely. But yeah, I was just like,
speaking of Gremlins, real quick, not to derail this podcast. But Gremlins 2. Have you seen Gremlins 2?
No, but I saw it's on my thing.
You need to watch it first.
First
you need to watch it. And then you need to watch it first. And then for the audience who's already seen it, I'm going to tell them to watch this video. But you don't watch this video until after you watch Gremlins 2. There's a sketch with Key and Peele about the writer's room on Gremlins 2. So just Google or YouTube Key and Peele Gremlins 2. And that's all I can say because I don't want to spoil anything. But watch Gremlins 2 first.
So I'm going to watch the sequel just for the Key and Peele
You need to.
Okay.
And believe me, that's a 90-minute precursor to a 5-minute video. But it makes that 5-minute it'll be worth the 90 minutes of watching Gremlins 2.
I'm going to do it.
All right. You've convinced me. Okay.
So back to Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Let's see. It was $20 million, but it made $72.3 million. Won Best Original Screenplay, but also nominated for Best Actress Kate Winslet. And Charlie Kaufman is the one that wrote it, along with Michael Gondry, and directed by Michael Gondry. Starring Jim Carrey as Joel, Kate Winslet as Clementine, Elijah Wood as Patrick, Mark Ruffalo as Stan, Kirsten Dunst as Mary, and Tom Wilkinson as Dr. something. Ms. Earwax. I don't, you know what? I'm just going to leave it there.
Earwax?
Yes.
Earwax. That's totally what it is. Just made it up.
Earwax.
Earwax.
We'll go with
Dr.
that.
Earwax.
Dr. Earwax.
So this movie visually is stunning.
Yes. 100%.
And for those who don't know the premise, did you already go over the synopsis?
I don't think I did.
Gremlins.
I got it. So when a relationship turns sour, a couple undergoes a procedure to have each other erased from their memories, but it is only through the process of loss that they discover what they had to begin with. One thing that I like throughout this story is you can tell where you are based on her hair color.
That's right.
So you know where you are in the relationship with them, which is a good little nuance that they threw in there. That was smart. They're like, we got to have something that makes it so you understand where we are.
So what I like best about the film is that, when he's having his memory erased, that's when you find out all about their relationship and everything they went through. And I like that the theme of that movie is, their relationship isn't perfect, but they are meant to be together, basically. They're just we're just going to be kind of miserable together, but it's supposed to be this way. So, okay.
This movie, in some ways, reminded me about time, because no matter what he did in that movie to try to make that one girl in the beginning love him, he couldn't. And this is kind of similar, because no matter what they do to try to get rid of each other, they still love each other and can be back together, because they keep finding each other. It doesn't matter. It doesn't work.
And originally, the script had them, the ending of the film is you jump to 40 years ahead, and they're an old couple, but they have tried to have each other's memory or their memory erased dozens of times. So this has happened over and over.
They keep doing it
over years. They keep doing it. So it's them as an old couple, and you see they're having the memory erased, and you see the log, and it's every year it happens. You see the log of all the past times they visited Lacuna, and I was like, oh,
there's got to be an easier way and a much affordable way.
Yeah, it's got to be expensive.
Different cities.
Yeah,
there we go.
Just move a few more blocks away from each other. Don't go to the same dang Barnes and Nobles, okay?
Yeah, there's got to be an easier way.
There has to be. My favorite scene, though, is when they're in his, like, subconscious or, like, childhood memories, and they're dressed as little kids.
He's like the little kid.
He is. Oh,
He's so funny.
He is. And then they sit, and you, like, go to him as, like, a teenager masturbating in his room, and he's so embarrassed. And all these, like, all his little childhood memories.
Because he's trying to hide her so he doesn't lose her.
Yeah, in humiliation or whatever. And so he's trying to hide her so that, because he realizes he still loves her, and they still had good times together, despite all the bad that happened. And so he's like, I don't want her memory erased. He can't wake up. And so he tries to, like, hide her in all these secret compartments in his brain.
Right.
And I just love all the visuals and everything that happens and how they represent. It's a very simple story, but everything that they do is, like, just incredible to look at and really, really creative and weird and strange, but amazing.
How are the people around them not, like, saying, listen, that doctor doesn't work. You gotta stop. Or, like, taking that doctor, like, to court and stuff. Like, this hasn't been working.
Yeah,
Let's
like,
just stop it.
I mean, that would happen in real life.
Yeah.
There would be lawsuits.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm like, come on, friends and family. Be like, this is it. Don't see Clementine anymore. Ever.
Yeah, how does everyone, like, agree? Like, oh, okay, you're having a memory erase, so I'll never, talk about Clementine again. Who, does, like, all the family and friends get together? I know they were sent a note, but, like, there's got to be some stray thing. It's not a solid plan. Like, there's got to be some stray neighbors or, like, someone you met one
there
time
was that one neighbor that said her name, and he was like, what? He didn't understand.
And the neighbor should have been like, your girlfriend that you dated for like a year, I know exactly who you're talking about.
But that was before his memory was erased, I think.
So
he was like...
That's right, because it was
There's
Valentine's
something
Day,
about that.
and he was sad, and then that's why he went to the place.
I don't know. Elijah Wood's kind of a creeper in this, though.
Elijah Wood's super creepy. Oh my gosh, little Elijah Wood.
When is he not creepy? Those eyes are like, hey, I'm gonna steal your soul.
Back to the Future too.
Yeah.
He wasn't creepy there.
You have to use your hands.
It was like a baby's toy. Aww.
No, I love Elijah Wood though. He was just on Movie Fights, and he's genuinely so nice.
Yeah.
And sweet. Have you seen? There's he got punked one time.
I did not see that.
There's a punked episode of him, and they, like, played some prank on him where, he, like, accidentally, like, threw a cigarette somewhere, and it, like, exploded this trash can, and so the guy comes over and is like, what have you done? This is my livelihood and all this stuff, and he's like, please, can you help it? We're so helpless right now. Oh, please. He, like, puts his hands on his face. He's, like, a little kid, but he's, like, in his 30s, and he's, like, the sweetest, like, genuinely just distraught over this. It's, like, a lifetime audition. Like,
that is hilarious.
It's so good.
I love seeing people, like, in their element when they don't know that you're watching.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. But so
That's
he's
always my
genuinely
favorite.
really nice, and I like him. He's probably a serial killer.
I have a story about him from college, and I almost went out on a date with him. But
What?
we won't be talking about that on this podcast. But we can talk about that later.
Okay.
It's a good one.
I gotta hear it.
Anyways, Razzle, what are your thoughts on Eternal Sunshine of the
I love
Spotless
it.
Mind?
If I recall correctly, I haven't seen it in a few years, but there's some great usage of forced perspective in there when he's like under the table and the buses and stuff are falling apart. And it's like,
I love that.
I remember loving the shit out of that movie. I'm sorry.
That's
Yeah,
fine.
you can-
You're good.
Curse all you fucking
Well
want to.
then,
We're gonna
roll
let
up my
loose
sleeves
now.
here. Yeah, I remember loving that movie. I mean, and Charlie Kaufman wrote it, I believe.
Yep.
Huge fan of his work as well. And it was, one of the better Jim Carrey dramatic roles.
Right.
But I remember really enjoying it.
Jim Carrey and drama is like hit or miss for me. Like sometimes I'm cool with it and I feel like he's doing a good job. This particularly I did.
He did a great job.
But some other performances I'm like, can we just get an actual dramatic actor in this? I don't know.
I mean, The Majestic wasn't good.
I didn't see The Majestic. What's that about?
It came out when you were like 4.
Okay.
I don't even remember. Something about
It's
a
the movie theater. It was a dude who had amnesia.
Yeah.
And he was like a war hero, and it was like, but he's not. And it was like, he worked at a theater, and then he liked this girl. It's so contrived.
That sounds like shit.
They were trying to be like another Truman Show. It was almost like kind of like a
continuation.
Oh, I remember
you know
trailers
what I mean? Like
for
it
this
was,
movie.
It was like a weird small town. Everybody, treated him like a hero, but he wasn't. It was like, was he really the hero, or did he just look like him? It was confusing.
Oh, okay. That does sound weird. I don't like that movie already.
That's
Guys,
what it was about.
Nicolas
He's
Cage
random
was
stuff.
considered for the role that Jim Carrey played. What?
I don't
Nicolas
know.
Cage is was considered.
I mean, he's been in another Kaufman film.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was
Adaptation.
great in Adaptation.
He's great in it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So good.
I miss Nicolas Cage. Oh, come back.
I'm sure he's coming back.
No, he's done movies. He's just not back.
He's not bad.
I
He's
know.
such a good actor, too.
He is so good. He's
Like,
won an Oscar.
he
You
can-
got.
I know, that's the thing.
He has the ability.
Like, people shit on him, but he's a really,
He's
when he
so
wants
good.
to.
Raising Arizona is probably one of my favorites.
Just picks the wrong movies. He's picked
Yeah.
the wrong. He's picked.
Well, he needs
He's
to
not
for
an
money.
action star, and he's not an
Well,
action
he was
star
for a
anymore.
bit. And then
He was.
But he's not anymore. He needs
But
to
all
go
his
back to
action
acting.
movies are incredible. Con Air, come on,
The Rock.
The Rock. I actually have never seen The Rock. It's on
Okay.
HBO Go though, so I
Yep,
got it
gotta
on
do
my
it.
list. Calm down.
Okay,
That's really
that one is delightful.
That's Sean Connery, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, it is.
Michael Bay.
Yeah,
That's
it
one
is.
of his best
Yes.
movies, right?
It is.
Okay. See, I know.
Just
I
them
know
trying to
this.
get into it. Oh man, that's the best for me.
Okay.
Trying to get on.
I have
to
no
it.
idea what you're talking about, but
Yeah.
yeah,
a good
totally,
sequence.
totally gonna agree with that.
Chasing those green things. That's really good.
I have no idea what's going on.
Know what's
Yeah,
going on.
yeah,
Yep.
totally.
Really
Yep,
good.
yep.
Good, good.
Mhm.
Moving
Okay.
on, ladies and gentlemen, that is Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Let's head on over to our next link. Razzle, would you like to let us know what you have decided
Yeah.
for your link for
So my first one.
Xanadu from Xanadu?
First one, Xanadu. It's got Michael Beck, and it's not The Warriors. It's a movie called MegaForce.
Oh God, I heard about
Do you
this the
know-
other
do you-
day.
have you seen
Okay,
it?
I have not
What
seen
is
it.
this?
Listen, I've heard about this.
Holy
This was
moly.
like
What
the
is this?
unofficial GI Joe movie, right?
Holy
Is it
smokes.
GI Joe?
So the movie Team America World Police
Mm-hmm.
is essentially based off of this movie. This movie is Trey Parker and Matt Stone's one of their favorite movies. I watched this for the first time last year because a friend of mine was
Right.
talking about it. He's like, "You've never seen this?" So we watched it. We were. I used to work at a restaurant, which is the devil. No, don't go there. But it's a restaurant. It's it kind of rhymes with Tsunami Burger.
Okay, got
so
it.
don't go to that restaurant. If you like Tsunami Burgers, don't go there. Allegedly, I worked there. And my boss was talking about this, and we literally pulled out a laptop and watched this trailer.
Because it's on YouTube.
It's on YouTube, and we
Yes.
put the movie on at work, and we just kind of watched it at work.
Oh, it's on YouTube for free?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So everybody watch
Well,
it. Okay. Well,
I mean, for
Allegedly,
free.
allegedly for
It's on,
free.
it's-
Yeah.
Quotations.
This movie is so bad. It's ridiculous.
is it enjoyable?
It's
bad,
got
though?
very not at all.
Oh.
Have your phone ready to be looking at other things while you're watching this movie.
I heard about this movie maybe a month ago, maybe
okay.
less. Someone else was like, "I loved MegaForce as a kid," and I bet no one else has ever seen it.
It's so long.
What's it
It's
about?
99 minutes, and it's not that long at all. But this movie is so long and slow. I'll tell you what it's about. There's some things here on the IMDb. But this is the tweet description. And then I'll read other descriptions. Story about a rapid deployment defense unit that is called into action whenever freedom is threatened. Now that's that, but there's never been a superhero like Ace Hunter. His name is Ace Hunter. Now it's like G.I. Joe.
It was
It's
supposed to be GI Joe though, and then they GI Joe
It's-
came in and was like, "You know what? We're not doing it anymore."
It's a phantom army of super elite fighting men whose weapons are the most powerful science can devise. They're like this task force that has this underground base in the middle of the desert. They have the state-of-the-art motorcycles and planes and tanks, and they were all built for real usage, not actual fighting, but these were actual vehicles. It was directed by Hal Needham, who's also done some Burt Reynolds 70s. He was a huge stuntman back in the day, and he turned into a director. But it's so they wear these tight jumpsuits that are just bonkers, and they got these 3D holograms in the movie, they're mirages, and it's the most absurd, so horrible. It's so bad. It's the movie was made into a computer game for Atari. It's bad. It was nominated for 3 Razzie Awards.
That's how you know it's good. That's
Yeah.
how you know it's a fun movie to watch.
It is on the list of films that have a 0% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. And this is how it's dumb. Just listen to this. This is from the director. This is a quote from the director. "It's like no other movie ever made before. And the machines we've built are extraordinary. There's one other thing. Although there's a lot of action, you don't see anyone get killed. I think people
Yes.
are beginning to get sick of that kind of thing. What we've tried to do here is make an entertaining film with some believable heroes the public can cheer for. Oh, and another thing, like they're fighting this dude who was like best friends with the Ace Hunter for a while, like back in the day. Then he got rogue, and he became like an arms dealer or whatever with other people. And then at the end, they just kind of like shake hands and fly away, like oh, haha, I beat you this time, type of a thing.
Sounds like a Power Rangers episode.
It is, and it kind of is. There are two armies, and there are these fake countries that are fighting each other.
Oh,
but
fake
they're not,
countries are the best.
And there's like maps, and they're like they plan like the logic of their route and planning to like go. Oh, if we fight him here, then he can't go here. But they knew he was coming here. It's like,
how does something like this get made? I just don't get it.
A $20 million budget.
What?
That's just ridiculous.
Well, it's because one thing was the film was released in the summer of '82. Was it? That's not what Mattel produced some toys. The company obviously wanted to. Keep in mind back in when this came out in 1982, there was a lot of those types of films. You had all these futuristic films. You had like Flash. You had
Tron.
Star Trek coming out. You had Tron coming out. And the company that made this, Golden Harvest Studios, they wanted to break into the Western market. They wanted to get, like with the Blade Runner and all that type of stuff, they wanted to get into this type of thing, plus with marketing and merchandising.
Right.
Because
that's what it's all about.
In the 80s, that's what it was. It was, you had the G.I. Joe toys, which had yet to have a movie out. You had Star Wars just destroying it with the Kenner line and all of those toys. And they wanted, the companies... They were just trying to come up with these science fiction movies that could have sequels or whatever. It's so bad. MegaForce, look it up.
Okay, I'm gonna watch it on YouTube
Nice.
illegally. You heard it here. I don't
So
care.
bad.
I don't care.
If it hasn't been pulled, how is it
Hasn't been
illegal?
pulled.
I don't
It's
know.
It's on
Because
YouTube.
nobody
It's legal.
cares about it. Like, that's how
Sure.
bonkers it is.
All right, we're going to skip over to ours. So let me break down what we've talked about so far. So we've started with Face Off. From there, we went to movies with a ridiculous premise, and we went to Xanadu, as well as Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Off of Xanadu, we picked a Michael Beck film, which was MegaForce. And now we're going to head back over to Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, and our link off of that is going to be Kate Winslet movies.
Yes.
You want to go ahead with yours?
Sure. Okay, so I picked one of the cheesiest, most amazing rom-com holiday films of all time called The Holiday.
Yes, The Holiday.
The Holiday. It's a solid movie, and here's why I like this movie. It's a movie, but about movies, kind of. It's about like, the film industry, and I like that aspect of it.
Part of it is.
Part of it is. And a lot of the... Like, they have an explanation of, like, what a meet cute is. And, they have, like, a whole scene where he's talking about soundtracks of films and great lines like, you're supposed to be the leading lady of your own life and stuff like that. So it's, like, a person that loved movies made this film, and the whole theme is kind of... It's not the theme of the film, of the movie, but I like that that's something that they talk about a lot. As a film lover, that I recognize those kinds of things. So, okay. The synopsis, two women troubled with guy problems swap homes in each other's countries where they each meet a local guy and fall in love. So it's our girl, Kate Winslet, Cameron Diaz, Jude Law, and Jack Black. Also, Eli Wallach, who plays the old man that Kate Winslet ends up being neighbors with when she swaps houses with Cameron Diaz, who lives in Los Angeles. Winslet is in London. I loved him in this film. He's actually my favorite part of it because he's the guy, he was a producer or a writer or something, and he's an Oscar winner and has just, done a million movies.
Right, so he kind of played himself.
In
a way.
And he is kind of the hero of the story, I would say. And came out in 2006. The box office was like $65 million, so it did okay. I first saw it in theaters, and then I watch this every time with my friends. If we ever have, like, we go out at night, have a little drunken sleepover at someone's house, and we'll pop in The Holiday and just fall asleep to it. It's always a solid film. This is a great film to put on in the background. This is a good background
I do like
film.
Nancy Meyers films.
Yes.
Pretty much most of the time. I don't know if there's one that I'm like, not so good. But the actual total gross is $205 million, so that's nice. And it was made for $85 million.
That's right. So it did pretty good.
Crazy.
It was pretty solid.
It's a good movie.
I saw this in theaters, and that's probably the only time that I've seen it. So I don't know if I've watched it again. Maybe I have. Maybe once.
I've probably watched it too many times. you know, like I'm a little too invested in the characters and I get a little emotional about it. But
Sure. Here's what I don't like in movies. So you have the ladies swap houses, all that good things. Okay, and then Cameron Diaz meets Kate Winslet's brother, which is Jude Law, and he's like a single dad. And I was like, it's always convenient that there's a single dad who has kids or whatever, or a single mom with kids. I feel like that's kind of the thing that's driving me nuts right now in movies. Like, it just seems like where there's never the other person. It just magically happens. Oh, we're going to find this person, and yay, we'll fall in love, and yay, we're a family, yay!
Oh,
Yeah.
it's all
I don't
together.
know.
Can I talk about something that bothered me? And it's more of a technical problem, but...
Yes.
Okay, so when Cameron Diaz slept with Jude Law, then the next day they're having their awkward morning after thing. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay,
Yeah.
go. So.
Don't question me on
I
the
know.
holiday.
Sorry.
Okay.
Who's with the kids? Okay, wait.
So he gets a call on his cell phone and it says like Sophia. And then she looks down on his phone and is like, oh, it's Sophia. Sorry, I didn't mean to look at that. So that's her cue as to, oh, he might have other women in his life. You know, he might not be, you know, as single as I think he is. So then later he gets another call from Olivia. And then, so he has 2 calls on his phone. So she's like, oh, he has, like, you know, women at the wazoo. I'm probably not the only woman in his life. And then it turns out those were his daughters. His daughters are, like, 3 years old and 5 years old.
They don't
did
have
not
their own phones.
Their own phone to call him that it would come up, caller ID with their name. That scene is bullshit.
Okay.
I just want to call out that one scene. It bothers me so much.
I
'cause I'm
can
like,
try to clarify this, but it might seem ridiculous. Back in that time, when this movie came out, they had these phones called Fireflies.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like 3 numbers. And you, like, 3 buttons, 3 numbers. Mom, dad, emergency.
And it was specifically for little kids. To
Yes.
have, like, at school if you needed to call someone.
So it's feasible that
Also
they
for
could
old
have those
people that can't work.
Fireflies, which would be, you know, kind of ridiculous, but still feasible that they could have them.
I guess
That's
so,
all. That's
but
my only way to kind of
I'm thinking
try to
that-
make it make sense.
I don't know. I'm
But
thinking
yes.
now it's just maybe lazy writing on their part, on their part to be like, oh, we gotta like, you know,
Yeah.
cause some controversy where it seems like he's like a ladies' man.
It could have
So
been
we'll
the
just have-
nanny. They could have had a nanny or so. Someone had to be with
No,
those kids while
their
he
na-
was
no,
out.
Their names popped up though, and it was
I know, but
different names.
I'm
So it should
saying-
have just said home if they were calling from the home phone. We
True.
spent like 15 minutes talking about this. I'm sorry, but it just really bothers me. I just wanted to bring that up. Oh gosh,
It makes
I'm going
sense.
on like a Toy Story rant now.
So, one trivia from this I thought was interesting. I guess on the Tonight Show, Dustin Hoffman had said like his cameo was kind of unplanned, and he just saw, oh hey, they're making a movie over here. I should see what's going on. So he walked to set, and saw Nancy Myers and was like, hey, what's going on? And she was like, why don't you come be in this film? So he's like,
So
all right,
they wrote in a little cameo,
sweet.
which is brilliant. And then Jack Black in that scene is so adorable, just singing her tunes, flirting with her secretly.
I like Jack Black in this film.
Me too.
But he's another one that's
I don't like
I
Cameron
kind of
Diaz in this film.
sometimes like
Can
him.
I say that?
That's fine. Is she really a likable character though? Like,
No,
I don't know.
not really. She's kind of uptight and...
Well, she
Oh.
cuts trailers, so that's kind of a difficult business.
That's true. But no, I don't like Cameron Diaz, the actress, acting in
as
this role.
that. Got it.
Because she does... Apparently, she, like, in her scene when she's breaking up with Ethan in the beginning, and she's, like, freaking out and, like, being super dramatic, that was inspired by, like, the film stars of the 30s and 40s who would kind of do that, and I don't like that in this film. This is a modern-day film, and I
Sure.
think it's, like, way over-dramatic. It's, like, dramatic acting. I don't like it. It's a little annoying to me.
Who would you recast?
I don't know. Someone else.
Just anyone.
I have no idea.
Does anybody like Cameron Diaz in anything
The Mask?
besides The Mask?
Okay. I thought she
I
was
like her
fine
in
in Charlie's Angels.
Mm-hmm.
Jinx.
She's also good in being John Malkovich.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah. All
yeah.
right.
Mhm.
She's
We
she's
got
good in
some.
that one.
We got someone.
That's like the one
Charlie
dramatic role.
Kaufman.
I can't even think of it. The rest of her filmography, and I know she's been in a ton of things. Oh, you know what? Vanilla Sky. I actually did like her in Vanilla Sky, and she was kind of the scorned lover.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I thought she was pretty
She's
good
like
at
the
that.
Crazy girl.
Oh, I could talk about Tom Cruise all day.
Let's do
Oh,
it.
Tom Cruise. We'll do a
love
whole
Tom
podcast episode
Cruise.
about Tom Cruise movies.
All
Don't
these
you worry.
movies linked to Tom Cruise.
All these movies. So that's the
Best.
holiday. It's classic rom-com. There's got some good stuff in there. If you haven't seen it, watch it.
Or rewatch it.
There we go. If you have seen it, watch it all the time in a drunken, gorging on Taco Bell
Sounds good to me.
Which is what I do all the time.
All right, we're coming back to you, Razzle. Off of Xanadu.
Off of Xanadu. Okay. Another. So Xanadu has a. There's a scene in Xanadu that's animated.
Yes.
That was animated by a gentleman who used to work for Disney, but then he wanted to start his own production company.
Okay.
And that gentleman's name is Don Bluth.
I know this name.
You know this name because he's created The Land Before Time.
Yes.
He created The Secret of Nim. He made the video games Dragon's Lair. If you ever got into that, he also directed. His Fern Gully was part of his camp. His there. He also did this one, which is a great movie. It was it had a sequel that took place in the Wild West. But I'm going to talk about An American Tail.
Oh, yay!
Don Bluth wrote, produced, and directed that. Well, he didn't write it. He produced and directed it. It was written by Judy Freudberg and Tony Geist. But American Tail with Fievel, it tells the story of Fievel Moskowitz and his family as they immigrate from Russia to the United States. And that movie is so good.
Now, okay, here's a
I
question.
love that movie so much. It's such a sad and
it's so sad.
stressful movie. It had a budget of $9 million. It released in 1986. The box office was $150 million.
Dang.
And the song "Somewhere Out There" is just like, yo, don't tear up. Listen to that song.
Golds and platinums.
Good luck with that, because the waterworks happen every time.
Written for that movie, won so many awards. It was nominated for Golden Globe Awards, the 44th Golden Globe Awards, and it was nominated for an Academy Award. It won a Grammy. It was nominated for the Golden Globe and the 59th Academy Awards for a motion picture song, but it lost to a song from a Top Gun movie.
What?
Oh,
Tom Cruise movie, Top Gun.
Take My Breath Away.
Lost to that.
Okay, well, that I can kind of see.
An American Tail. Yeah, I'm sorry, I cut you off. You're going to say
I was going to say, is it spelled Tail or Tale?
Tail.
Yes.
Because
yes.
it is a mouse.
Whoa,
But it has the double, the synonym,
Whoa,
or sounds the same.
Craziness.
Yeah.
I remember, I've seen this movie when I was little. I remember being very sad. And like you said, it's sad and it's stressful. It's like the traditional American tale of immigrants. And it's like,
absolutely. It's
super, super like scary to watch kind of. And then I remember Fievel Goes West way better than I remember this movie. Yeah. So I'm trying to like think of everything. Isn't there like a cat in it that's little?
Yeah.
Oh,
He's like literally a fat cat.
There's an evil cat, but the fat cat is a good guy.
Oh yeah.
I'm trying to remember his name. That was Dom DeLuise.
That's right.
It was the voice back to Burt Reynolds movies. He played Tiger. He was like the big orange cat. Mm-hmm. Christopher Plummer was in it.
What?
Yeah,
did he play the dad?
He played Henry. He was the pigeon. He was the French pigeon.
Oh yeah.
Hanging out on the Statue of Liberty.
Okay, the word I was looking for was homophone. Sorry, everyone.
Homophone,
Homophone. Also,
homophone.
Homophone. Tomato.
But it's also a pun. It would be a pun. Right?
Another song that I like. There are no cats in America.
Yeah, right? So good. It's such a good movie and musical.
And the streets are paved with cheese.
Yeah. And it's such a hopeful movie, like when they immigrate, and they got like the war and the fact that it takes place back in the day, and it's like, I mean, it's like Gangs of New York, an animated Gangs of New York kind of.
Straight up, 5 points.
Because it's all about like the different cultures and like nationalities and all that, and how they get treated differently, and how they just want to come back and
right.
They want to go and make a better life in the United States of America. Ugh.
It's the true American dream.
Yeah.
I'm getting like sad and stressed thinking about it, but also hopeful. And I remember that song, Somewhere Out There, that also played, and they used it in a bunch of like films and TV shows and stuff. It was on an episode of Designing Women. I remember that. Aww. Whoever watched Designing Women, I watched that growing up because they're ladies from the South and I am from Texas, so my parents would always have us watch that show. And she was like, because her husband was in the military, so he was away, and she was pregnant and about to have the baby, and he wasn't there, so she was singing, like, Somewhere Out There, You're Loving Me Tonight, or whatever, however the lyrics are, and she was, like, looking at the moon and thinking about him, and I remember that song, I was like, oh my god, it's from the American Tail, I know that song, and it was on an episode of Zombie Woman.
Here we go. It was written by James Horner,
Yes.
who
Love James Horner.
also scored. I'm going to segue into your next
Oh,
movie
yes,
here.
you will.
He did the score for the best-selling orchestral film soundtrack of all time.
Titanic. Woohoo.
So that is our...
Let's move it on over.
That's our other film. So from our ridiculous premise, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, we did Kate Winslet movies. I talked about the holiday.
Yeah.
And you were talking about Titanic.
Titanic. And you know what? There were plenty of Kate Winslet movies that I could have chose. I thought about Heavenly Creatures. Like that was her first film. Just to speak on that real briefly. And it's a shocking film. It's one that I recommend people see because it starts off when you're like, what just happened? And then it like backs up a bit to the beginning of this, like it comes in at the climax of the film, I guess I should say. And then it takes you back. It's like cuts off and takes you back to how we got to this point. And it's based on a true story. I can't remember the other lead gal in that, but it's just two girls becoming their friendship and how they fall in love with each other and stuff like that. So very interesting story. But Titanic, because it's amazing and it's one of my favorite films. It's one that at the time that I saw it when it was in theaters, it was like when I had decided like I want to do something in film or I want to, work in this industry or do who knows? I want to do something in this. And I was really good at editing music at the time. And I was like, I could totally edit music for or sound or something like that. Now, let's not bring that to this time because sound on things isn't my strong suit. But it was at one time. And I was just fascinated with everything about this film because it was the first film that I really took note of what filmmaking was. So here is the story, which but I will go over it. A 17-year-old aristocrat falls in love with a kind but poor artist aboard the luxurious, ill-fated RMS Titanic. Starring Kate Winslet as Rose, Leonardo DiCaprio as Jack, Billy Zane as Cal, Kathy Bates as Molly Brown, and so on and so on.
Billy Zane is incredible in this. His eyebrow, oh my gosh. Lovejoy? Find her. And
He's definitely
his eyebrow
intense.
is so high. Oh, I love his hair flop is so good. It's like Brendan Fraser in The Mummy.
Yes.
Level. It's pretty solid.
Well, that was came out around the same time, right?
I know.
So there you go. They're like hair flopping.
Just always trying to bring it back to The Mummy.
And hair flops.
Always.
Directed and written by James Cameron, won 11 Oscars. Best Picture, Director, Cinematography, Art and Set Direction, Costume Design, Sound, Film Editing, Effects for Sound, Effects for Visual, Score, Song, My Heart Will Go On, and also nominated for Best Leading Actress, Best Supporting Actress, and Best Makeup. This was the first one where there was a nomination for people playing the same part at different times. Mm-hmm. So the young Rose and the old Rose.
That's right.
Let's see. The box office got $2.1 billion, and the budget was $200 million. Now I think this must be adjusted for inflation because at the time I remember it being $100 million as the budget. So I'm assuming that they're like, well, now it's got to be about $200 million. And yeah, I remember seeing it in theaters a few times, probably 3 times, which is a lot for me because, like I said, when I see a movie and I like it, I don't want to see it again. But it was one that I think it's because I was in love with Leonardo DiCaprio at the time, right? So that's how you do it, right?
Oh, Tiger beat Prince. Ugh.
I've seen every film of his, which is ridiculous because some of them are not good. And you're just like, why? Why did I do that?
I mean, he followed this. Yeah, sure. He followed this up with The Beach.
Mm.
I can't believe that.
Yeah, and we had talked about that. He wanted to do The Mummy.
That's right.
But...
He was going to do The Mummy. Brendan Fraser's character, but he was like, nah, I'm doing The Beach. Or they wanted to delay. He wanted to delay The Beach so he could do The Mummy. But right. Like, nah. And now we have Brendan Fraser as...
You know what? It worked out. Brendan Fraser?
He's been getting
What's he doing?
Little chunky monkey. He's been losing his hair, but I still love him. He's still Brendan Fraser.
His face is so symmetrical. It's like, guy, come on.
He's great. He's great.
He was so good in the Mummy movies. I like Brendan Fraser. George of the Jungle, he was great in.
He was ripped
He was
in
so
that.
good in that movie.
Remember in his butt
Airheads,
flap?
he was so great in Airheads.
And Encino Man. I mean,
Encino Man.
we've
Encino
gone
Man's
over his
great.
filmography
he's
and how
so
much we
good,
love him.
And then he just kind of made some bad things.
And now he's making
disappeared.
terrible kids movies.
Yeah.
Oh,
He's
like,
coming back, guys. He's gonna come back.
I want him to.
Let's
That
get
movie
another
with,
Encino Man. Let's get Encino Man
with
too.
Honors, was that the name of it? With Honors, with
He did School
where
Ties,
Joe Pesci
right?
or whatever.
I don't know.
Is that School Ties maybe?
Maybe
where
School
Joe
Ties.
Pesci was like it was either Joe Pesci or was
I think it's with
Fraser, was, like,
Honors.
the homeless dude that lived underneath
Yeah.
the college.
That's
Oh yeah,
That's
no,
with
I thought
Honors.
he was Jewish, and that was the big secret.
That's
I haven't
School
seen
Ties.
School Ties. Okay, that's School Ties. Okay,
All right, so back to
back
Titanic.
to, back to
everyone.
Titanic. No, let's talk about Brendan Fraser the rest of the time. I'm cool with that.
Yeah, he was with Honors.
With honors. Okay, okay. Anyway, Titanic.
Back to Titanic.
Originally, they wanted Matthew McConaughey to play the lead.
I cannot picture that.
I can't either, but you know what? Sometimes I'm like, I don't know. If you don't know,
Picture.
I have so much trivia for this. It's insane. The whole thing about like that they made the set, they only made half of the set, and then they had to overlap. They like overlapped the negative to make the second half. Like they only made half the boat, and they overlapped the negative so that way it would mirror it. And people would have to like switch like their outfits or their hats or feathers on their hats certain days so that way when they overlapped the negative it would work. Like that's insane to me.
So complicated.
Innovation is like
Mind-boggling.
mind-boggling. It was so. I mean, that's the amazing. To think of that
Yeah.
is just worthy of awards.
All right, one of my favorite things in 2012 there was an episode of Mythbusters where they did the Titanic survival for the movie to test whether or not Jack and Rose could have both been on the
so
door.
much room on that
And they're like, well, if she put her her vest under the door, it could have held both of them. Like that
They
wouldn't
wouldn't
have been a problem.
thought of that. They were freezing.
Okay. So they could have both been on there. And James Cameron was on the episode, and he maintained that Jack needed to die for thematic reasons, but conceded that he could have used a smaller door to make it more plausible. He was like, all right, now that I think about it, let's cut this a little bit smaller.
I like that he was on that episode. That's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny that he was like, let go of his pride and was like, yeah,
so
maybe
funny.
could have done it differently.
He used a smaller door,
My
but then
dad-
it doesn't look as visual.
Right.
Yeah, because my dad gets upset about things like that. And I remember
Sure.
us being in theater and he being like, she could have scooted over on that door. I don't know what's happening. They're idiots. Like, he was like really upset about it and like very bothered by that.
This is the first film to be released on video, DVD, VHS, while it was still being shown in theaters. So that's pretty exciting.
I remember it was
remember being
2
in-
tapes.
Mm-hmm.
It was in theaters for a long time. I remember.
Yes,
like
because
9
it was.
months.
Oh wait, I have it. It's like something about 14 weeks as number one. I have to.
Yeah, I've seen it twice in the theater.
And then it did the re-release recently, which I thought it would do really well again, but it just kind of did marginal. But I guess it's because it only releases in
Because it
certain
was like
places.
3D. And I was like, you don't need 3D for
I
Titanic.
hate 3D.
It's already amazing.
It is. The first Best Picture Academy Award winner to be produced, directed, written, and edited by the same person, James
Oh, gosh,
Cameron.
James Cameron.
He edited it too, huh?
That's
Jesus
crazy.
Christ.
The most expensive first-class suite on the Titanic cost $4,350, which is the equivalent of $75,000 today.
Oh my
Jeez.
gosh.
Now, when I taught fourth grade, we had a whole 2 weeks where we did this story about the Titanic, and it incorporated nonfiction. It's kind of like the movie. Like it did show them underwater, like actually looking at the artifacts, and then it went through stories of people that were on board as well. And then we did this whole thing where I had them do activities along with it, and that was their favorite the entire year. They're like, do we get to do another thing like Titanic? I was like, let's hold on a second
We're gonna
because
have a
we're
dance
going to
party
the
in the
gold
basement.
rush soon. I was like, but this is really your only nonfiction like main thing that we're going to be doing. And they were kind of disappointed about that. I was like, maybe because it's a tragedy, like kids latch onto it because it's a tragedy.
It's definitely interesting that of all the like wrecks, Titanic is the most like known and common. When there's been so many other sunken ships and so many other stories that are out there of historical devastation.
Right. Is it because it was claimed that it was unsinkable, or is it because
it's glamorous? It's a rich people's
Yeah, and
boat
Right.
it's all the
Voyage.
richest families
coming
are on there.
to America.
there's that? There's also like just that they couldn't. There was no way to get to them, or the rescue attempts were failed.
But what about Amelia Earhart? Like, I want to story about her. Like, fine, what happened to her? Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. That's just me. That's my curious brain being like, there's other cool like missing things. I don't know.
And there's other stuff. Because I remember the first episode. This is getting into like television. The first episode of Downton Abbey is them finding out that the heir to their title, their distant cousins, was on the Titanic and died, and so that affects like the rest of the thing. So like some of the most prominent families in the world were on this ship.
Yeah,
and died
because like all the rich people, a lot of rich people died, which had to give their inheritance to who knows, all these other people in London and Europe. And who knows, what transcribed with their fortunes.
Yeah,
Could be
and
some of the most
insurance policy, like all this stuff happened as a result of this huge ship and all these people dying. It's like pretty incredible to think about. I don't know. I like the story of it.
It was number 1 at the box office for a record 15 consecutive weeks.
That's so
from the 19th of December in 1997 to the 2nd of April in 1998. I don't know what dethroned it, but I know, what else did really good that year was My Big Fat Greek Wedding. Like, that was always in the top 10. Like, for weeks.
That's the most successful independent rom-com of all time, right?
Yeah.
Is
I don't
Big
know.
Fat Greek Wedding.
I wouldn't be surprised.
It's like the most successful rom-com or independent film or something like that.
Yeah.
Is My Big Fat Greek Wedding. It was so popular. That's another movie I love, too, and I can watch over and over again.
So there you have it. That's Titanic. That's Titanic. Yay! We went through all of them. We started with Face Off. Then we went to movies with a ridiculous premise. From there we did Xanadu, as well as Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Off of Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, we linked to Kate Winslet films and did The Holiday, as well as Titanic. Off of Xanadu, we did cast and crew members of Xanadu.
Yeah, I kind of broke the rules. I apologize.
No. Hey,
Yeah.
I figured out the link.
Thanks
Cast
for
and crew
preparing.
members of Xanadu. And where they are now, and their other works. And we did MegaForce as well as An American Tail. So that is where we ended up. And as always, we do. You know what? When I was thinking of Xanadu, my link, what I would have come up with would be Struggling Artist. And one film that I probably would have picked would have been Swingers.
Swingers,
I
okay, that's
totally
a good one.
would have thought of
Struggling
that.
Artist, I suppose, could do.
This is Spinal Tap. They're struggling.
There you go.
Yeah, they're struggling. I mean, they
wanna
were super
see-
successful though. They were. I mean,
Well,
they were,
puppet
but
show
then-
at the end. I mean,
they were on a downslope. Though.
Yeah.
They were struggling artists
They
on the
had tiny
downslope
little
of fame.
sets and,
Yeah.
yes, Stonehenge.
Stonehenge.
I want to see Inside Llewyn Davis, which I haven't seen, and I believe he's a struggling artist as well.
Oh,
Okay, I
a
haven't seen that.
definition of a struggling artist.
All right,
Great
all right.
Coen Brothers
It's like
movie.
the Bob Dylan-y type of movie, right?
Yeah. And it's Oscar Isaac, who's now one of my favorite actors.
Love him.
I saw him in
Since
Sucker
Ex
Punch.
Machina.
Since Ex Machina, he's incredible. New Star
I've seen
Wars
that.
movie, obviously.
great.
But I first saw him in Sucker Punch, which wasn't that great of a movie.
Sure.
A lot of people hate it, but he's so good in it. And then from there, I was like, that's the guy from Sucker Punch. I know it. And now he's incredibly popular and is going to be in like every big movie ever coming out. So
Yeah, he's in the new X-Men movie.
he is.
Yes.
That's right. He's Apocalypse.
Yeah, he's in this new movie coming out. I don't know if it's gonna be any good. It's let me think of it. Comes out The Force Awakens.
Oh yeah.
Yes, he's a little.
Yeah.
I was waiting. I was waiting.
There's something. He's got some name.
Yesterday.
I can't remember his name. I think it's Poe Dameron or something like that. Maybe.
Yeah, potato,
I
Dameron,
don't know.
something.
It's one of those things.
One of those things.
You know.
Okay,
like-
so
I tried to make it easy for you.
I mean, I didn't buy 8 tickets yesterday.
Oh man.
oh yeah, tickets.
But-
I got the text from Fandango. Don't you
yeah.
worry.
I
Okay,
need to get
so
mine.
movie link tweets. So we asked people on Twitter what their favorite movie with a ridiculous premise was, and they responded with, Gaby said Xanadu, Daniel Munoz said The Cabin in the Woods, JC said Wet Hot American Summer, Christian Strand said Con Air, solid choice there. The Kill Chair and Joe Swaba said Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Jejuan Gulroy said Ghostbusters, and Kristen Reeves said Anchorman.
Nice.
So, solid choices, guys. And
Yeah.
you picked some of our movies, so that was...
They did.
I liked that. Good job.
The next question we have is, would Face Off be better with Rocky?
So, okay, just to
If Rocky were
preface.
to be cast in this film.
So we covered Rocky in a previous episode. I do a truly atrocious
It's actually pretty
impersonation
amazing.
of Rocky. So we can talk about, would it be better if Sylvester Stallone as Rocky were in Face Off? Who would he play? Would he
I
be
think he
Castor
would
Troy,
be-
or would he be Sean Archer?
I think he would be Sean Archer to start, right?
He'd be. I want him to be like Nicolas Cage, and so then this is Rocky playing Castor Troy playing Sean Archer.
Oh man. Okay. You're
Jesus
going
Christ.
deep here.
Christ on the cross. Okay, so wait, what scene should I do?
I don't even know.
What scene? What's a famous scene? Okay, when they're intimidating, or when they're talking in the prison, he like finally catches up with him, and then Sean Archer as Nicolas Cage or Castor Troy realizes that now Castor Troy has taken over Sean Archer's body and is playing him, and so Rocky is now being the John Travolta as Nicolas
Totally
Cage
lost now.
character. I'm so lost too. I don't know what's gonna happen. I almost can't even remember the lines. So
I don't
he's
even
like,
get the only line I remember was like, "Woo, you hot." Like that's the only line I
yeah.
remember from this movie.
No, I know it. It's like ooh wee, you good looking. So then Rocky is
Something
like
that.
ooh wee, you good looking. And then he does something like, it's like looking in a mirror, but not. So Rocky's like, it's like looking in a mirror, but not. You know?
It's good. It's good.
Yo! It's like looking in a mirror, but
can't.
not. Oh, it's so
Lost
bad.
it.
It's so bad when I do it. He would have been incredible in that movie, though. But
He would have.
But not as Rocky, or not as like Sylvester Stallone playing it. I want him, Sylvester Stallone, the actor, to play it like John Travolta plays it, like the actor of Nicolas Cage as Castor Troy, but as Sean Archer. I want all those things mixed in.
I'm still lost.
I want it all to be together. I want us all together as a happy
Okay.
family. It's gonna be like that. It's someday. Someday
Nice.
out there. That's not
And
how
our
the song
last
goes at all.
thing is to link it to Kevin Bacon. So Kevin Bacon was in Murder in the First with William H. Macy, who was in Wild Hogs with John Travolta, who was in Face Off.
Whoa.
How many degrees is that?
Let's see.
Or you could do,
1, 2.
Oh, that's 2. Okay.
Well, because it gets to John Travolta, so 2.
Yeah. All right. Or you could go Travolta to Bruce Willis in Pulp Fiction. Bruce Willis to Stallone, or in Expendables, Stallone to John Lithgow in Cliffhanger. John Lithgow to Kevin Bacon.
Yes,
in-
Footloose.
My brother and I used to play the Kevin Bacon game.
Yes, me too.
Yeah, it's like one of my favorite games ever. I can do pretty much. I'm generally prior to like 2005 films. I can pretty much. There's a few cheat codes like
Right, Kevin Bacon
like
Oracle.
A Few Good Men, Blues Brothers, Ghostbusters. You know, because there's a lot of older movies you can
Yeah.
there's spider webs that you can get to Kevin Bacon easily.
If you go on Kevin Bacon Oracle, you can put in the actor's name and it'll link it. But you can say find another link and you can keep clicking it and it'll just
Okay.
keep like
Just give you
finding
refreshes.
more with
Yeah.
the same
I
people.
mean,
it's insane.
It's insane how many it's insane how many older movies especially. I mean, newer movies he's not in as many, but there was a lot where it's like, in theory, if they're working actors now, if they have a movie out, if somebody's in a movie out now that's older than maybe 35, that's been in at least one 80s movie, you can route them back to that.
Yeah.
He's a
So-
solid actor.
Razzle, where can we find you?
You can follow me on Twitter at my name is Razzle2, or if you like podcasts, I have a couple. I have one on the Nerdist Network called Today We Learned. You can check that out. It's about fun facts and trivia. And then I have another one on with my friends Zach Levi and Tyler Labine. If you're into films and movies,
What?
that's called Picking Favorites. That podcast, we pick 3 random categories. Then we talk about our favorites. Like I'm actually going over there right after this to record one. And I believe the categories are favorite Nicolas Cage movie,
Yes.
favorite I came up with the categories as I was preparing for this.
Okay.
Favorite non-Disney animated movie, and then favorite life hack.
Oh.
But it could be like your favorite cafeteria food in high school, your favorite road trip you went on with your friends, and your favorite pop song. So there's every episode is 3 different categories, and then we go around and we all talk about like our favorite things. So that one's also really fun.
But
So
it's
you can-
always this. You're all talking about just those three topics.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
got it.
sometimes there's like 5 people talking about their favorite, so there's like 15 answers. Sometimes a few of them. Sometimes it's just me and another co-host because 2 of the co-hosts are out doing way cooler things. So like today, I think it's just me and Dave, and then my buddy Zach might be there. He might be in town, but it's always a fun. And then you get tangential, and there's a lot of like runner-ups because it's a lot of indecisive dudes. Nerds talking about their favorite things.
They're
it's
like
hard to-
1A, 1B.
Yeah, it's like, oh, this is. I'm generally the worst. Like I came up with the idea. I had the idea for the show, and I can't follow the rules at all because it's like.
Well,
I
it's
do
all right.
Nicolas
things.
Cage movies. I mean, there's like 15 to talk
exactly.
about.
So it's like
I get
you know, so it's always tough. But those are the 2 podcasts. If you like podcasts, you can listen to those. And then follow me on Twitter at my name is Razzle, and then the number 2.
Nice.
Okay.
Stacy?
You can find me on Twitter at SOHoward2012. I also write for Schmoes Know, and I contribute to Horror Flicks on Schmoes Know with a Horror Flicks and Kill recommendation of the week, horror films on Netflix, so watch out for those.
Nice. You can find me at Miss Movies on Twitter or on Instagram, Miss_movies, and you can find me here. And that's about it for now.
Yay!
All right.
Films!
Thanks for joining us today. We will see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. 6 Degrees of Feature Film is produced by Stacey Howard and me. Special thank you to Ken Knapsack for our intro and Matt Brown for our artwork.